Okay, so all real numbers smaller than -2. The way we would write that using set builder notation, we'd have brackets, x, sometimes there'll be a colon, some textbooks, and sometimes we write just a vertical line there. And the way we read that is the set of all numbers less than -2. It's also read as the set of all x such that x is less than -2. Some textbooks will write it that way. Some math teachers will say that, where that colon is or that vertical line is, they refer to that as such that x is less than -2, depending on the textbook you're looking at or how the math teacher words it. I'll do both. All real numbers between and including -4 and 5. Between and including -4 and 5. So using set builder notation, we're going to go x, -4 is the little number, 5 is the bigger number. We want to be in between and including. So there would be our set builder notation in -4 and 5. All real numbers. That's right. I have a goofy looking capital R. Some textbooks will use a capital R that's in boldface type. Sometimes we see all real numbers like that. The empty set, sometimes you just see that symbol right there. Some textbooks will write brackets with just nothing in between. I don't care which form you use, you're just fine with me. The set of all real numbers smaller than 10 but bigger than 0, that's supposed to be a 0. So 0 is the little number, 10 is the bigger number. We read from left to right, so I've got 0 on the left, 10 on the right. Smaller than 10, so we want to be less than 10, but bigger than 0. In other words, 0 is smaller than the number in that interval. So all numbers greater than 0 and less than 10. That's set building notation. Now we're going to look at interval notation that goes along with it. Traditionally, we've taught interval notation in pre-calculus. We think Algebra 2 students can handle it. So we're going to start bringing in interval notation now also. And what you're going to see is a less than is going to correspond to a left parentheses for the lower bound. And if we want to include, we're going to use a bracket. And you'll understand what I mean here when I go through some examples. Okay, so all real numbers smaller than -2, the way we wrote that was all x such that x is less than -2. Our number line if I had -2 here, I'd have here, and then I'd be headed towards negative infinity. The sideways kind of 8, that's infinity, and that's negative infinity. Now it's important to understand that symbol because in interval notation we use that symbol. In interval notation we're going to go from negative infinity to -2. Like that. We always use parentheses around the infinity symbols. Always use parentheses around negative infinity and infinity symbols on that side of the side. You'll see that as we go through this. Okay. All real numbers between and including -4 and 5. So the way we handle that, hold on a second, Lord, needs your work. Okay, there was our set building notation, and we're including -4 and 5. Here's how we'll handle our interval notation. Remember when I said less than or equal to? That corresponds to a left bracket instead of a left parentheses. So -4 is included. So we're going to put a bracket around the -4. Comma, a 5 with the bracket. So that's how we represent all numbers between -4 and 5, including -4 and 5, using interval notation. So that corresponds to that set builder notation. Interval notation is used all the time in calculus. So normally in pre-calculus, that's when we make that transition, but we're going to start making that transition earlier now. All real numbers. Read that goofy looking R? Well, for set builder notation, that means we're going from negative infinity to positive infinity. And remember, around the infinity symbols, we always use parentheses. We call that an open interval. This is called an open interval. When you have parentheses on both sides. Hopefully you're sitting there thinking, okay, well, if that's an open interval, then what do we call it with the brackets on both sides? If parentheses on both sides is open, what would you guess would be a good way to describe something with brackets on both sides? Closed. This would be a closed interval. What do you think would be the case if we had one of each? What do you think we'd call it? You had to guess. Any ideas? No? Any ideas? Mix? Not bad. Not bad. Neutral. Neutral? Not bad guess. Good guesses. It's actually using the open and closed terminology. We call it half open, half closed. We have one each. Okay? The empty set, we can just go ahead and use that symbol for the empty set. That's fine. Give my notation. Set of real numbers smaller than 10 but bigger than 0. 0, 10, like that. There's our open interval. It looks like an ordered pair, doesn't it? Looks like the point 0, 10 with the parentheses there. The way we know we're talking about an interval versus a point is the context of how it's written. So you'll be able to determine that based on where this appears in the exercise that you're working with. All right, see if you can write down the number lines that are at the bottom of the page. If you haven't already done the exercises there, try to do the worksheet there using your notation.